You are listening to Insights with Kathleen. Please join me while I share my insights and experiences with the hope to inspire you to look inside of yourself for the answers that you already have. As with all information we receive, take what speaks to you and leave the rest. Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys.
It's been a couple of weeks now, huh, Sharon?
It's been 2 weeks. I've been counting. I have it on my calendar.
Yes, and we thank everybody for hanging in there. You know, one of the, I think, most important things we can do is to honor our bodies, and when we're sick,
for sure,
we stop and we take care of our persons, right?
Right, so that way we can help others. It's like the oxygen mask analogy on the plane.
Right. Yeah, and plus so that we don't share. That's the one thing we don't really want to share, and that is cold germs or flu germs or any germs that can really knock a person down for a couple of weeks.
That's fair. No, I'm glad that we're back. I'm glad we're feeling better.
Yay.
Yeah. So I have a topic.
You do?
I do. So I guess I don't know how to summarize this topic, but it's more of me experiencing the highs and lows of feelings. So yesterday, I had a little party with some people, and, people are graduating, and it's like bittersweet, but also there's all these high emotions, and it's exciting. And then there was the lows I had in the morning. So I just went through a pendulum of emotions. And I guess in my head, I was like, oh my gosh, is there something wrong with me that I'm experiencing like all these emotions, especially in like a day?
Yeah, to be in the roller coaster of emotions, and especially, I guess, too, with you, and we've shared this before on this podcast, is that you yourself have experienced certain mental health issues, right? Or at least perceived mental health issues.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that going through that kind of a pendulum swing within a day has caused you some personal concern.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh, concern? For sure. So I know for me, when I was first going to therapy, the biggest thing is, document your emotions. So, you're feeling this way. Why are you feeling this way? And you kind of just analyze all these aspects of it, because I wasn't really that in touch with my emotions. Now, being out of therapy, sometimes I get scared I'm going to go to that place of like, oh, I'm experiencing these highs and lows, and then it's going to be out of control, and maybe I'll be like clinically depressed, or maybe there'll be another diagnosis, and my medication. And it's like, it's a whole thing, and it's like the story I'm playing in my head.
Sure. And those, I want to validate that. That's all. Yeah. That's all real stuff. And that's fear that's coming up in the mind story, right?
Yeah.
Because when you have mental illness, especially if you have a diagnosis of mental illness, right? So now it's where we're all hyper focused.
Right. Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Because I was feeling these like really dark feelings for a really long time.
Right.
Or, I would feel them for a really long time, and then it would shift, and I'd feel these really great ones and nothing but great ones. And then, oh my goodness, now I'm back down here, and what? I'm crazy. No. Or, any variation of that. But here's the thing. You did a lot of hard work, and I want to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
And good for you that you did that for you. You didn't do it for anyone else.
Right.
You did that for you. So anybody out there listening who has, those challenges, please know you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it, and do it for you.
Yeah, that's like a very important one too.
Right. And know that, like, when you're working with different people, don't be afraid to question them, because they don't have all the answers regarding you.
Right.
You have those answers.
You live inside of you every day.
That's right. Yeah. You're the one who experiences it all the time. So I hope that we can impart a level of confidence to those who are listening to know that you know what you know.
Right.
Right. Especially when it comes to you.
Yeah, and advocating yourself. For you.
Right. So that being said, it's normal. I just wanted to say, it is normal for a person to go through a spectrum of emotions and potentially do it within a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if you ever feel like that maybe you are reverting backwards or going back, or something's wrong, then, use some of the tools that you were given earlier on.
Right.
Journal. Okay, I was feeling this way, and just like a quick little diagram, so you can go back and you can see and say,
oh, okay, I wasn't wallowing in any one emotion for too long.
Right, right.
That I was kind of flowing through them. Because, here's the thing. We have a spectrum of emotions as human beings. We have a spectrum. It's not just happy or sad
That's always what I
or
thought.
mad, right? There's like this whole spectrum of things in between, and they can each be very delicious.
Wow.
I know.
Tell me about that. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So, I think especially because we hint around to talking about spirituality, and there's a whole community of, and it doesn't matter whether it's New Age or if it's, Christianity or any religion really, or any level of spirituality. People feel that they have to be a certain way, or they have to feel a certain way all the time. Well, that's not reality. That's not living a human existence, because just like we stated, we have a spectrum of emotions.
Right.
And some of those denser emotions, or what people will label as darker emotions, right? The anger,
right?
The self-loathing,
Yes.
The just plain old sad,
right?
And even to a level of worthlessness, like that's all part of an emotion, and those are also opportunities and signals to say, oh, there is something inside of me that I need to bring to light, right? Because we want to say that these heavier emotions are, I'm doing air quotes here, darker emotions, right?
I see the air quotes.
But we want to bubble those up, because those are things that are hidden inside, or something maybe that we didn't fully address with inside of ourselves, and we kind of pushed them down. But some event, whether it be hormones, or a situation that happened that's bringing this to surface. Right. So, the delicious part is it's an opportunity to be the sleuth, the investigator in your own little life, and to dive into it and feel it, and then see you. Sometimes it's about just feeling. And then after you're done feeling is to see, okay, where's this coming from? And is this something I can release and shift? Right. But don't be always in such a hurry to do that.
That's like my biggest thing. Cause after going to therapy and all of that stuff, a big thing was like, oh, why are you feeling this way? So whenever I am feeling the spectrum of emotions, especially with like yesterday, there was a lot of emotions, and I'm quick to be like, all right, let me analyze each piece. Why was I feeling this way? Why was this happening? Because I want to make sure I'm on top of it, because I don't want to regress or anything like that. So
yeah, and sometimes it's about just feel. Just feel. Because in feeling, it's a sure sign that we're alive.
That's good.
Right?
I like that for us.
We're not dead inside.
That's good. I hope nobody's dead inside. So that's good. That's reassuring.
Well, but let's be real.
Right.
I know for myself, when I was younger, I had very limited emotions.
Okay.
And what do I mean by that? Because I just finished saying that we all have a spectrum of emotions. What I mean is, I only allowed myself to identify this really small amount. Right. I was never mad. I was sad.
I was the same way. I was like, I'm not allowed to be mad, because that's bad, but I can be sad, but only in private when no one can see me.
But by not allowing yourself to be mad, you are you're not really loving yourself.
Ooh, can you talk more about that?
So you're not even validating yourself. You're not validating your feelings. You're not even respecting yourself. Somebody else has disrespected your own personal boundaries. You're allowed to be mad. We're allowed to feel mad. It's what you do with it. Right. And I think that that's the part that people miss. We're loud. We should feel all of these different emotions and all these different nuances of emotions. Inside Out.
Great movie.
Inside Out.
Highly recommend, guys.
Yes. And I love how they kind of portray that. Yeah. Right. So they start out with just 2 simplistic, maybe 4 simplistic emotions, But then as the main character is growing, you start to realize, oh, it's really complex. It's kind of a blending of emotions and different variations. So, you know, it could just be so many different.
Right.
You know, I can't even count them.
Right.
Because the nuances could just be so different. You can be frustrated and happy and excited and nervous all at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? So the delicious part is the fact that it reminds us that we are human beings. We're having a human experience. Yes, we are spiritual beings at the core of who we are.
Right.
But as those spiritual beings, because we talk about being a spiritual being, we never die. The spirit in us never dies. It just moves on.
Right.
But we chose to be here at this point in time.
On this planet.
To be on this planet in the bodies that we're in. And I don't know about you, but I'm in a human body. You know?
I'm in a turtle. I don't know what you're talking about.
So I signed on to have a human experience, and part of that is feeling these emotions.
Right.
And getting into and just allowing yourself to feel without psychoanalyzing it.
Yes,
all
that's a big
the time.
one. Yes.
And it's being in the moment. When you're not analyzing and you're feeling, you're being in the moment. Okay. And again, like some of those denser feelings, sometimes you do want to take a breath before you react.
For sure, yes.
You know, because, you know, hopefully you're not like escalating something that's just going to bring something heavier back to you.
Right.
Because, you know, we will attract what we put out.
Yes.
So I'm not suggesting either that you wallow in anything, but savor it. Because if we allow ourselves to open up to these, what we call denser, heavier, or darker emotions, the anger, even the fear, the frustration, the mad, the sad, the gloomy.
Wow, you're just naming dwarfs or something. Why didn't you name some of them? The grumpy, the happy.
You know, respecting yourself is recognizing that this is what you're feeling.
Right.
You know, and that's part of loving you. And another way to love you is recognizing that you are having this feeling, and what can you do to care for yourself while you're having this emotion?
Ooh.
Yeah. Like for me, sometimes I'm just sad and I don't always have a reason.
Sometimes you are just crying and you're like, this is what's happening today.
I'm just going to go with it and see where it goes.
Right.
You know? And so I don't overanalyze it. I just kind of like, okay, I'm feeling a certain way. I'm not really sure, but I'm not going to stifle it. I'm not going to push it down.
Right.
I'm going to allow it to flow out. I'm going to, care for myself in a way that make my surroundings a safe place for me to allow it to flow out. Right. So like, obviously you don't want to be bawling while driving a car because that would be dangerous.
That's inadvisable, guys. Don't do that.
Right. But I like sometimes when I'm in those like really melancholy or very sad, mopey kind of a place.
Dwarfs again.
Yeah, there's dwarfs. is I want something cozy. Like I want to wear comfortable clothing. I want to have like a cozy blanket, whether, it's wrapped around me or I'm just hugging it. Aww. Someplace that brings me joy or makes me feel cozy.
Right.
As I'm going through it. And that's me nurturing me. It's me nurturing the emotion that I'm experiencing. And then as I experience that emotion, and again, it depends, sometimes we know exactly what the trigger is. Sometimes we don't.
Right.
Is to know that, hey, it's okay because there's a flip side to this. As in nature, things are always moving, always changing.
Very true.
I'm not going to be stuck here for forever.
Good.
And in order for me to enjoy the opposite of what it is that I'm feeling, which would be, on the lighter, brighter, happier side of life, I need to feel these more rich,
right,
dense. I almost want to say chocolatey, but it's not really chocolate.
You really like that. That is the adjective she's been using today. She's like delicious and chocolatey. So these chocolatey emotions. I do like what you're saying, though, about the nurturing piece, because I know for me, sometimes I will be, feeling those heavier emotions, and I'm like, I got to get out of my head and I got to do something. And sometimes some people need that, but I know for me, I'm like, I need to sit down and take like a breath because I'm overstimulated.
Well, yeah, and if you rush to get out of it,
yes,
then you're missing a lot of good information that you could be gleaning from being in the emotion,
right?
Because it's recognizing that the emotion is happening, and it's happening for a reason, and some of it could be for self-preservation, some of it could be for protection,
right?
Some of it could be just, hey, I gotta just stop,
right?
I gotta just stop.
I never thought about that one.
I need to stop and be.
Yeah.
Because I think we get so conditioned that, oh, we don't have time for that. We got to get over this and we got to get over here right now so that we can get on with living life. It's like, well, hello.
Get on living life,
hello,
you say.
Dummy. Not that I'm judging it, but,
right.
But the thing is feeling the emotion is part of life.
Right.
And if we don't stop just for even if it's 30 seconds to recognize that, wow, I really am feeling this way.
Right.
All right. So, wow, I'm taking note of that.
Right.
And you know what? I can correlate that action or that thing that happened is a direct correlation to what it is that I'm feeling.
Right.
So, I don't want that anymore.
Right. Right.
So that helps you to make decisions.
Right. And I feel like sometimes for me, I'd be like, oh, something's like deeply wrong if I'm feeling the heavy emotions. But one time I think I just had plans with several people for like 5 days straight. And I crashed and I was like, oh, why am I sad? Why am I down? And then I had to stop and think and be like, I was around a lot of people. It was a lot of stimulation, a lot of energy, and I just need time for me. And I didn't even think of that.
Very valid. And that's important. And sometimes that's the message that the emotions are bringing to us, right?
Right.
Because it's not just about feeling the emotion, but the emotion is full of information.
It is. It is.
And when we are running nonstop, and we're not taking time for self-care and getting our rest and eating well, it will make us, hangry.
Yes.
What is that?
It's I think it's the combination of angry and hungry, Kathleen.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you clarified that. But that comes about because we didn't stop to eat.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Sherry. I went to go get glasses this one time and this office, God bless them. I didn't eat. I didn't even realize because I was running. I just want you all to know, like, look, hey, I tried to practice when I'm preaching, and I'm a human being, and sometimes I'm not so great at it either. But so, I have to pick out new glass frames, right? And I didn't like anything.
Oh,
I didn't like anything, and nothing was pleasing me, and I was getting more crankier as the time went on, and crankier, and I was getting ugly.
Oh,
and I was just like, no. When I say ugly, I mean I was just getting short, and
she's never ugly. She's never ugly looking, guys. Always pretty.
You're so good to me. But I really just started to bark like these short little snippet answers, right? Just really, really just like no. These are not working for me.
Right.
I don't want it. No, I'm out of here.
Oh, she's barking.
I mean,
okay.
like I just like was whoop, And it wasn't until like after I had left and an hour later, I'm sitting down and I'm actually eating something that I realized that I was hangry. Of course, I had to go back and I apologized up the wazoo to these people because I don't like to operate that way. But that was a consequence and it was an emotion. Right. But I didn't put it together that I had a really busy day and I never stopped to eat.
See, that's a big one. Yeah.
So, but wow, what an experience that I had that I can come back and go, wow, that was kind of powerful, but not necessarily in the best of ways.
Right. You're like, that was very that's how I feel like when I haven't had enough sleep. And I'm like, it's fine. I had like 4 hours of sleep. I'm fine. Everything just irritates me. Someone breathing, someone just walking in front of me. And I'm like, and then I go to sleep and I'm like, oh, wow, I feel so much better. Maybe I just needed more sleep and I didn't even realize that.
Right. And then if both of us would have taken those emotions and just taken a second to say, oh my goodness, why am I feeling this way?
Right.
Why am I behaving this way?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm feeling this way. Where's this coming from? Ah, crap, I didn't eat.
Crap, I should probably eat.
Or get some sleep.
Human beings like sleeping and eating, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Most people, anyway.
Most people.
We won't speak for them all.
Right.
But, the other... I know that I say that some of these denser emotions are delicious, but the reason why I find them delicious is, one, they are packed with information.
Yes.
Whether it be the situational information at hand, or whether it be something that is buried deep inside of me that needs to come up into the light for me to look at and release. But the other part is I know on the other side of that is these other lovely emotions that I really like to live in.
Right.
But I can't live there all the time because then I wouldn't be true to me.
Yeah.
Because we live on this planet with these choices of experiences and these other people who have choices of experiences, and sometimes their choices don't line up with our choices.
Right.
So then that brings this cool experiment of conflict.
Yeah, it is really interesting.
Right? And then conflict brings up certain emotions.
Mm.
So now it's just like that little soup pot of emotions, and it's just mixing around, and every once in a while this little emotion bubbles to the top.
Right. No, I do find it very interesting about what you're saying, like we can't always live in the high. And I was like, you know what, like, a couple of years ago I was like, you know what, I'm only gonna be happy, I'm only gonna live in those like high emotions. And I realized that's not possible because I'm a human being. And then it came with this level of expectations, either from myself or people around me, that, oh, Sherry's never mad, Sherry's never this, because she always outwardly portrays that. And I used to think that way. And it was very exhausting and very debilitating. And I'm like, wow, I should probably feel the full spectrum.
Well, yes. And then what you do is you're also setting yourself up with having your boundaries.
Yes.
Crossed, right?
Yeah.
Or just, diluting your boundaries.
Very much so.
They're a lovely person I have met that I've worked for once upon a time. And their goal was always to have everybody like them. That's a really difficult way to live, because then who are you sacrificing? You're sacrificing yourself.
Yeah.
And though, we hear all kinds of teachings, especially in the Christianity world with Jesus, self-sacrifice,
right,
and on and on. That's not what Jesus ever wanted for any of us, to sacrifice ourselves in that manner.
Right.
It is in establishing those healthy boundaries, maintaining healthy boundaries.
Yes.
That helps us to live healthy lives, which then will foster these beautiful, healthy, loving type of relationships. And that's what he wants for us.
Isn't that such a beautiful way to live?
Yeah, it is. I think so. So, Sherry.
So, Kathleen.
Don't be afraid to experience all of your range of emotions, because it is this beautiful pendulum that swings back and forth. And know that it is always going to be moving, and sometimes a little slower than other times, you know, as we shift between all those different nuances of emotion. At any point in time, if you really feel like, oh my goodness, am I really reverting back, or am I going to be okay, or if you're afraid, do some journaling, and then you can look backwards and you can see the pattern to see, oh yeah, I was sad in the morning, but I was fine by the end of the day. Or I was only sad for a couple of days, but that's because this thing happened, like my dog died, so that makes sense that I'd be sad for a few days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's all about that perspective too. Oh, we brought that word in again.
I knew she was gonna say it, and it's great because it kind of shuffled me into my next point I was gonna make of the perspective that I would have with like, you know, these lighter emotions versus the heavy, because I had a stigma. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have a stigma against like the heavy emotions. So I'm like, oh, I have the high emotions. Oh no, that means I'm gonna experience like the heavy emotions, as opposed to being like, oh, you know what? There is information that I'm gonna gain that maybe I wouldn't have gotten from like this spectrum of emotions, which I want to value more.
Yeah, I guess I spent a lot of time in some of those, what we're calling denser, but we'll just say richer emotions,
right?
Because there is so much in there.
There is,
you know, like even being mad, you have love wrapped in there. Like you could have like the whole spectrum all wrapped up into that one emotion. You know, and then just being able to pull that apart, like being that little detective.
Right.
But knowing that for as happy as I'm feeling, the pendulum's got to swing back the other way at some point, you know, and that's okay.
Right.
That's worth the risk.
For sure. Yeah.
It is so worth it, because it's living life on purpose and without fear. And knowing that we are bigger and stronger than any emotion that can possibly be experienced. We are bigger and stronger than anything that could ever possibly happen to us.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Living life out loud. I love that.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. And we hope that this was helpful.
We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for tuning in. Remember that you are bigger than anything that you are going through or anything that is happening around you.